What's up, YouTube world? I'm back. Just gonna go over some things. A lot of different stuff's been going on lately. The biggest issue that I've seen is the CM Punk shoot with Colt Cabana. If you look at it, there's really some disturbing stuff in there. The fact of the doctors ignoring his situation, like he had staph infection and he's had multiple concussions. They tried to make him work after having LASIK eye surgery. And it almost came across like the WWE is like Scientology, like it's a cult, and like if you leave, you're gonna have like they're gonna try to ruin your life, and if you don't go by what they say, then you're gonna get depushed, and you're gonna have like a hard time, and there's certain guys in the back that have it out for you. And like, they brought up the TLC pay-per-view in the second one, and they were talking about how they really wanted to make Roman Reigns look good, like make sure Roman looks good. Well, my whole philosophy on that is Roman Reigns needs to make himself look good. Seth Rollins can make himself look good. Dean Ambrose can make himself look good. And if Roman Reigns isn't capable of making himself look good, then maybe he's just not that good, and maybe he's just not worth pushing. So and then like the Stone Cold Vince McMahon podcast thing on the network, I was so disturbed by that. It just, like, I've never seen Vince like actually out of touch. Like, I've heard about it, I have my own thoughts, because there's no way that you can think that this is good and give us this product and be proud of it. But then when you're actually listening to Vince and he's trying to tell you that Raw is still good and that he thought that episode of Raw was good, which was horrible, and who he thinks is good, like, they have this pet cat right now, Bray Wyatt. They think that this guy is just, he's the next thing. And in my opinion, time and time again, he has been a flop. He has not delivered. He doesn't deliver. And I just think that he's a big waste. I think that he has a shelf life, and he's not going to get very far. His promos were amazing when he first came out, but then you realize that these promos are fake. Like, there's no real intention of these promos. Like, he was talking about Chris Jericho and how does his daddy feel and all this, and it's like, dude, you have no real material for anything. And then people want to say like he's like Mick Foley. Well, Mick Foley brought real passion to his feelings, and it fit the circumstance. Like, he would go off on the fans for not appreciating him being hardcore, or go off about his childhood and not feel like the cool kid, and they were real. And Bray Wyatt, he's fake. And it seems like because he left this Husky Harris gimmick and built Bray Wyatt, that all of a sudden he deserves this, like, pass to the title. And I think it's a joke. I think the WWE right now is a joke. And when we first started doing these videos, and we got a lot of heat for saying stuff like, at the end of the day, we were right, man. The WWE is nothing like it used to be. And it's only getting worse, just like we said. Yes, the youth movement is amazing, and the wrestlers are amazing. I mean, they have some, like NXT right now, holy crap, there is some amazing talent in NXT. But at the end of the day, man, the General has lost his marbles. He's Al Davis. Like, when Al Davis was running the Raiders in his last couple of years on this earth, the guy was clueless. Had no idea. And that's what you see with Vince McMahon. He's completely out of touch. He has no idea what is good. I mean, even Punk said that he wouldn't let him go to a UFC walkout Chael Sonnen because he was afraid that somebody was going to die in the cage. I mean, dude, how many fights has there been? And how many deaths have there been in the UFC? I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of fights and 0 deaths in the UFC. I mean, come on, man. And then Triple H, like, Triple H is a guy that I grew up with, and I try to give a pass. I really do, because he was the game. He was a cerebral assassin. He was awesome. But, man, he really does seem like he wants to hold some talent down and like to come out of retirement just to squash Punk and then to leave, you know. And I said some things about CM Punk, and you know what? I was wrong, you know, because we all have that love for the business, the love for the WWE, and we all think you should just, you know, fly the WWE flag and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the WWE is a sick, demonic business, and it's killed a lot of people. I mean, let's just be honest. And yes, Punk had a severe staph infection that they tried to pass on and have him wrestle and have him wrestle. He could have died, you know? And you can't tell me that there weren't signs of Chris Benoit having severe brain damage before he did that. And you can't tell me that Eddie Guerrero didn't have signs of having an enlarged heart while on the road before he did that. But you know what? Eddie was about to be champion, you know? Eddie was about to be champion. Everything will be fine. You just got to make this next event, no time off, and everything will be fine. Oh, Eddie died. You know, Benoit, multiple concussions. I mean, we're talking like 20, 25, who knows how many. Everything will be fine, you know. We'll keep putting Benoit on that mid-card, make sure those pure wrestling fans are happy. They'll get that Benoit match in that pay-per-view. Everything will be fine. Keep hitting the road. Keep going. Everything will be fine. What happened? And so then they become like the NFL, where they're like, we're getting sued. Like, people are dying. We need to kind of clean up this product. We have new sponsors. We went public. So no more chair shots to the head, and no more blood, and tone down the ring style. And we're not in the wrestling business anymore. We're just an entertainment company. That's all we are. We're just an entertainment company. So, you know, don't bring up pro wrestling with us, because we're not pro wrestling. The owner of the company is telling you they're not pro wrestling. They're an entertainment company. And so what happens, though, is you're an entertainment company that sells a pro wrestling product. And so since you don't deliver on the pro wrestling side and your entertainment is outdated, your show sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. I could miss 15 Raws and it doesn't matter. I have the network. I did my part. I bought the network. I order your pay-per-views. I watch your pay-per-views. Not very happy about it, but I watch it. And yes, am I part of the problem because I'm continuing to support them? I guess I am, but I think all fans are, because at the end of the day, we love wrestling, and we want to have that feeling back. But my God, I don't know if it's ever coming back. I really don't, because once Vince is gone, then it's Triple H. And let me tell you something about NXT. I see all these little marks, you know. And let me tell you, oh man, you new fans, you little marks, you little new YouTube comers, you know, you think you're so smart, and you are so stupid. Stupid. I mean, I get some of the tweets from you guys, and you are so stupid. You don't have a clue. A clue. Anyways, NXT is great if it's a developmental system. But what I'm worried about is it's become a mainstream indie system. And what I mean by that is Vince has a vision for what the WWE product would be. They also have a vision of what NXT would be. They're tired of Ring of Honor and other independent promotions running WrestleMania weekend. So what they've done is they signed all the top indie stars that they don't think is good enough to be in the WWE, and they've put them in NXT. And then they don't want them to leave. There's absolutely no reason why Sami Zayn should still be in NXT. Adrian Neville. Kevin Steen should go straight to the WWE. Prince Devitt. Absolutely, should go straight to the WWE. But they keep these guys in NXT. And what bothers me about it is I don't know if these guys are going to get to leave. I think they're sold a bill of goods saying, yeah, you know, you come to NXT, and then we'll push you to the top, and you'll go to the WWE. And I don't think that that's the plan. I think the plan is to build NXT as a brand by itself and to sell NXT, to run NXT for WrestleMania weekend, for maybe SummerSlam weekend, and make a lot of money off of them. Make a lot of money off of the people that we would pay for on an independent show and put them on NXT. Oh, I forgot Kenta, too. I mean, whatever his name is now. Hideo Tommy, whatever. I don't even know his name. It's just stupid. And, yeah, so that worries me, because that's not their dream. I can't stand it when a guy's like, my dream is to become the NXT champion. No, it's not. You didn't grow up and want to win the NXT title. That didn't happen. Whatever. Anyways, so there's that rant. CM Punk. I think the guy is brutally honest. I think the guy is bitter, but he has every right to be bitter. And you know what? As a fan, I'm bitter. I'm pissed. I'm so sick of this crap that you've given me for so long. And it doesn't look like it's going away. It really doesn't. It looks like it's only going to keep getting worse. I mean, their vision of the Shield was supposed to be CM Punk, Big Show, Big Show, Daniel Bryan, and Seth Rollins. What kind of sense does that make? It makes no sense. It's just stupid. And then CM Punk was supposed to be the leader. And then if CM Punk was actually the leader of the Shield, you can't tell me that wouldn't sell T-shirts. I mean, you'd have Seth Rollins, a.k.a. Tyler Black, you'd have Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. Moxley, and then you have Roman Reigns, who looks like $1 million. Like, he's the muscle. You get it, And then you have Ryback, who actually thinks we care or value his opinion, or actually think that we're going to pick his side over CM Punk's. Like, no possible way, dude. You suck. You always have sucked. You're a big giant meathead who is very, you're green and you're not safe. You're very raw and you're just wild. You don't know what you're doing in there. And I have no desire to see you wrestle, dude. Like, none whatsoever. So I just think it's silly. I think it's silly. I think the WWE has no clue what to do. Super pissed off when I watched Ambrose and Rollins, Hell in a Cell, finally get the big payoff, finally get to see that match that we all want to see. Freaking the hocus pocus Bray Wyatt crap happened, and why? What sense did that make? Why would you ruin that? And then, to me, it reminded me of when I watched Lockdown and Abyss came out of the ring. Like, it was just like, you watch it and you're just like, oh, God. Oh, what are they doing? Why would you do that? Like, just... And that's not what a pay-per-view is supposed to be. That's not how you're supposed to feel after a pay-per-view. You're supposed to feel like, oh, my God, I can't wait to watch Raw to see what happened. I'm so excited. This is great. And then, okay, Sting coming out. Like, look. I know all you fanboys are really excited that Sting is finally in the WWE and all that, but that is Sting from TNA. That is not Sting from WCW. That is Sting from TNA. Same guy balding down the middle. Same guy who wears a t-shirt because he's so out of shape. As the same guy. The music, why on earth would you pick that music? And that's another thing, too. WWE's product is really starting to go down, even in production value, because they're not making new music for guys, so the music's really generic and terrible. They cut out pyro. They've cut off a lot of stuff on entrances. They're cutting money because basically they screwed up on their TV deal and they lost a lot of money on that and the network and all that stuff. I mean, the worst thing that WWE ever did was the sponsors or going public, and that's the worst thing they've ever done, and it killed their product. And now Vince is like, well, we need 14 creative writers, and we answer to a lot of different people, Steve, and the company's way bigger, Steve. And no, the company sucks. Like, that's just the way it is. You've made it suck. It's a terrible product. And at the end of the day, I questioned, is Vince McMahon a genius? And I've learned, this is my honest opinion about Vince. I think Vince is a genius when it comes to business. The network idea That's genius. That is a great idea. And it is way ahead of its time. Now, whether it works or not, I expected wrestling fans to not be as cheap, but they are. I mean, who knew that $9.99 would be so expensive to them? But it is what it is. WrestleMania, creating the pay-per-view concept and doing how many pay-per-views he did and all this stuff, like, and like having Saturday Night Main Event and, buying all the territories out. And, like, Vince is a very smart man when it comes to business. When it comes to wrestling mind, Vince is not a genius. He's not that bright. The best thing that Vince can do is steal other people's ideas and then put it on his show. If he has to use his original idea. Because I honestly think, back in the day when the WWE was terrible, Doink the Clown, and it was like 95, and it was like cheesy, Disney, just terrible, and they had to tell Vince, hey, you're out of touch, the product's really bad. I really think that's what Vince's vision is. And if you watch NXT, everybody has a gimmick, and some of them are downright horrid. Terrible. And I really think that's what Vince wants. That is his idea of what a good wrestling show is. Rusev has Vince all over it. All over it. He loves that anti-American, blah, blah, blah. They're going to build that thing up and they're going to give it to Cena. And it's just stupid. Nobody cares about it and it sucks. Yeah, so the WWE's not in good hands. Pro wrestling isn't in good hands. I mean, yes, you have Ring of Honor. Yes, you have, TNA. Dear God, could you just take Old Yeller in the back and shoot it? I mean, that's really what this needs to happen. You are just dragging this thing along. If you can't bring the type of talent that TNA used to have, there is no point of watching it. Because at the end of the day, TNA was about the talent. It was about your roster. It damn sure wasn't about creative, and it damn sure wasn't about the storylines that you presented. But at the end of the day, we watched it because we got AJ Styles and Austin Aries and Samoa Joe and all that. But now it seems like you can't afford anybody. And then you bring in this cheap generic talent from FCW, NXT, or leftovers of WWE fired that nobody cared about. Like right now, TNA's foaming at the mouth to get Alberto Del Rio. Nobody cares about Alberto Del Rio. Like, that's not cool. The only thing that's making Alberto Del Rio somewhat cool to people is he's got the approval from CM Punk. Like, that's it. And that's a mess. That is a complete mess over there. And there's no way that I can get excited for their future or anything about them, because at the end of the day, their show sucks. Their show sucks, and their roster is really dwindling down to the point where it's not even worth watching. And then you have GFW, which I have no clue what their actual concept is. It looks like that they're going to try to venture out in, having New Japan shows and things like that. And then New Japan's got the TV deal on Access TV, which I'll definitely be watching. Because my whole complaint about New Japan is it wasn't in English commentary. It's hard to understand. But it seems like that's going to get fixed. They're going to focus more on their North American audience, so I appreciate that, and I will be watching. And the pay-per-view, it seems like they're really hyping the fact that this could be Jim Ross's last pay-per-view, and you don't want to miss it, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care about Jim Ross. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. I think Jim Ross being on there helps the show, but it doesn't make the show. I want to know about the wrestlers, and I want to know about the matches. It seems like whenever they're plugging the show, they're mainly plugging Jim Ross and the Bullet Club, and that's it. They're not really plugging the main events. They're not really plugging who's wrestling and why, the storylines, none of that stuff. It's just, watch Jim Ross call another wrestling match. Like, all right, whatever. You'll still get my money because it's an awesome show, looks like, so whatever. A lot of people ask me about what I think about CM Punk going to the UFC. Whew. I don't know. I'm going to tell you this, though. This would have never, ever happened in, 2011. No way. I've heard that the UFC is in trouble. I've heard that the UFC has lost a ton of money this year. We're talking 40% profit gone. if you go to sports bars now, a lot of them don't show it. Because if you think about it, a lot of the sports bars have to pay like $3,000. And because when you show an event at a restaurant or anything like that, you don't just pay the pay-per-view bill, like just the $50 or the $60. You have to pay this like ridiculous bill by the UFC to show the product. And they don't get enough in return. People aren't coming out for them anymore. You want to know why? Because there's a UFC every freaking week. And none of it feels special, and the cards are weaker. I mean, there were 46 events this year. 46, and there's 45 next year, and they're blaming it on injury. Next year's going to be another failed year because they need to stop having so many events. This global expansion thing was a huge failure. You need to focus more on your American product because that's what really got you to the dance, is having huge shows in America. People paid a lot of money to see on pay-per-view and at the events, and now you just don't need to because it's just all the time, 24/7. I mean, if you look at January coming up, there's like 6 events. Granted, they're good. There's some good events, but none of them feel, I mean, I don't know about that because Diaz, frickin' Silva, I'm excited for, and John Jones Cormier, I'm extremely excited for. But for the most part, when you're talking about UFC pay-per-view, none of it feels overly special. And I think the UFC really needs to learn the fact that just because they're a champion doesn't mean they draw. I'm sorry, Jose Aldo does not draw. TJ Dillashaw does not draw. Anything in the lightweight does not draw. Mighty Mouse absolutely does not draw. Now, he's an exciting fighter to watch for the most part. The problem is, too, is you can have a champion who's a great fighter, but if they don't have a good adversary, it doesn't draw. If they're not going to face somebody with equal talent, it's not going to draw. People don't care. I mean, the best fight you could do for Mighty Mouse is John Dodson, and he blew out his knee. So you really don't have a lot there. So it is what it is. But anyways, back to what I was saying about CM Punk. They need money. They need people to care again. They need to draw. And that is why CM Punk signed. That's not why CM Punk signed, but that's why they signed CM Punk. CM Punk has loved MMA. I mean, this whole thing since way back in the day, that is the Vanderlei Silva deal. You know, that was his pre-fight thing. He stole that from Vanderlei. He's been a Pride fan. I mean, when he was in Ring of Honor, he was a Pride fan and all that stuff. So, I mean, he's been around the sport of MMA. He's followed MMA for a really long time, has a passion for MMA. So, more power to him for giving him a shot. Couple of things that they're going to run into a problem with. Who's he facing? Because if he's going to go in there, I'm guessing they're going to have to sign somebody who isn't UFC quality either to face him. And will the Nevada Athletic State Commission sanction him? Because that's another issue. So I don't know. My guess is, you know, his main base is jiu-jitsu, so he's a ground fighter. But we don't know his stand-up. Lately, he's training with Henner Gracie. That's his jiu-jitsu coach. And he was also training with King Mo and Roy Nelson. So, you know, those are some decent fighters. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like everybody wants him to come to the camps. He's been welcomed with open arms. Daniel Cormier wants him to go to AKA. That's a serious camp right there. But at the end of the day, man, Punk is 36 years old with bad knees and has 12 concussions. That doesn't sound like a promising MMA career. But Punk has balls. I give him respect. And, you know, at the end of the day, Punk was a pro. He's going to, when he calls it a day, when he calls it a career, when he calls it a lifetime, whatever you want to say, he's going to be a pro wrestler. He's going to be an MMA fighter. He's going to be a comic book writer. He's probably going to be an actor. And probably a musician. Probably have his own podcast. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that lived his life and did everything that he wanted to do. That's impressive. So I give Punk all the respect for that. I'm going to try to do videos more often. We'll see what happens. I know I say it all the time, but we'll see what happens. Definitely hit me up on my Twitter if you have any questions, concerns, if you think I suck, if you have hate mail. I don't care. It's whatever. I will respond to pretty much anybody unless you're just an idiot and you're over obnoxious and you bother me. I will block you. It doesn't really bother me. I know it was like the cardinal sin when I blocked people on YouTube back in the day and people had uproar about it. And I think people are more aware about blocking now in this era with Twitter and everything else. So, I don't have to talk to you, but I enjoy talking to everybody. I enjoy talking to my fans. I like having followers because I like talking to people. I like getting everybody's opinions. I feel like right now my number one focus is football. Diehard football, Cowboys fan. I love the Dallas Cowboys with all my heart. It will ruin my week. I don't get over losses. I get crushed. Thanksgiving was horrible for me. I was sick to my stomach. I ended up buying a freaking $500 freaking Samsung Galaxy S Tab because I was so depressed and I just wanted to feel good, and I friggin' spent a boat ton of money on a Galaxy Tab because I just wanted to get that loss out of my head. I can't stand it. We're going into Philly on Sunday, and you know what? I think we're going to beat them. I really do. Philly caught us sleeping. Tony Romo has a schedule that he goes by. We're on 10 days rest now. We watched all your tapes. We studied you. And, we scored the least amount of points on you than any team all season. And I just don't think that's going to be the case this time. I don't think that you're going to be able to stop our offense. And I think Mark Sanchez, if he has to keep up with our offense, if it's a shootout, Mark Sanchez will fold, and we will win that game. And then the question is the Colts and then Washington. And what's interesting is if we lose one game, especially the Philly game, say we win the Philly game, lose the Colts, we lose one game, we can miss the playoffs going 11-5. But if we win out, go 12-4, not only do we make the playoffs, but we probably have a bye, and we're either the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. So everybody thinks Romo's a choker and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you this. We will not lose this game because of Tony Romo. I promise you that. All right. So that's the way to end it. And hit me up on Twitter. I know there's a lot going on in wrestling, MMA, and all that stuff, and I'll try to cover what I can. Like I said, because I spent all that money on that Galaxy Tab, I'm now able to do these videos like this, so hopefully I'll be able to do more. I'm sure a lot of you are going to make fun of me because of all the Christmas decorations, but, I live in a house. My wife's work. So, y'all enjoy that. Happy holidays, and I will talk to you later.